Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back.
Part 2 of Astrology with Jenny Dee.
Jenny Dee. Oh my God. That was so synchronized. I loved it. Yeah. 2025 coming in hot.
I like it. I love it. I want some more of it.
All the songs. Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ Superstar.
Also a good song.
Yeah. See?
Jesus
What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz? Tell me. It's Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah. No, I like it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, keep going.
No.
No. No.
I know this is going to be a shock to everybody, but haven't actually seen Jesus Christ Superstar.
I'm not shocked.
Shocked and appalled. Everyone.
Jenny's shocked and appalled. Rachel? I'm here for it. Cinema is not really Krystyn's thing. I was like, what did you do in your childhood, Krystyn? Not watch movies.
That is accurate.
Yeah. Like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I got really good at voodoo dolls, though.
Nice. Nice.
Noise.
I knew you were good people. I could tell.
Noise.
All right, so we're going to continue what we started in part 1. And we're going to give you guys some dates to kind of look out for. And Jenny's going to share some other planetary alignments and transits that she feels are importanto. Importanto? Oh my God, Krystyn. This is like a Mark Cubano moment. Did you hear that episode?
No, not yet. I had a download during a meditation that Mark Cuban somehow is a part of my journey. I don't know if he's an investor in the podcast. I don't know how it's going to happen, but
Yinzer, fellow Yinzer.
Yeah, exactly. Mount Lebanon dude.
Yeah.
And Krystyn instead legitimately called him Mark Cubano. And I was like, his name is not Mark Cubano.
It is now.
It is. Well, that's the thing.
You're getting the wrong download. It's Mark Cubano.
Mark Cubano.
For some reason, I picture him as a poblano pepper. For some reason, so it's
like
Mark
his
Cubano
face
poblano.
Mark Poblano.
Mark Poblano. See how things happen?
Maybe you need to be a poblano farmer. There it is.
Pepper.
No, if anyone's gonna be a fucking pepper farmer, it's your husband.
Oh, God damn. We have a bet in our house right now.
Don't ever, if Charles ever offers you a pepper and says, it's not that spicy, don't believe him. He is full of shit.
I'll give it to my husband. My husband
So wait,
loves those.
Evie, I was telling you that Evie has this midterm in social studies today. So we've been studying for it. And the bet is, thanks to my lovely husband, that if she doesn't get an A, which I would be shocked, but if she doesn't get an A, she has to eat a Reaper from the garden.
No.
And if she
Charles.
gets 100%, I have to eat the Reaper.
Wait.
I'm like, can you just comfortably sit somewhere between 90 and 99? Because
But
this is non-consensual
how
peppering.
how is he not involved in this? If anyone's going to eat a pepper, it's going to be him.
Oh, yesterday when we were studying, I made up a game because she loves Sour Patch Kids, right? Mm-hmm. So when she got one right, she got a Sour Patch Kid. And when she got one wrong, she had to eat a vegetable.
I like that.
I think if Evie gets 100%, Charles has to rub a Reaper on his ball sack.
That's my ball sack. I don't think he should have to do that at all.
Why are you eating the Reaper?
If she gets 100%, I don't know. This is just how shit goes down.
No.
I guaranteed he'll film it. That's a whole.
I would tap out.
A whole new level of content.
I would cry.
We have a bowl of Reapers that just sits on our.
My husband is,
what is it?
Dying to get into them, I'm sure.
Something don't feel.
Your husband wants to get into my husband's Reaper bowl.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys.
I love making friends.
Brad is reaping Charles.
Yeah.
Wow. I really went there.
I love that his name's Brad. I feel like Brad is the male equivalent of Karen, isn't it?
No,
okay,
it's
Brad.
Chad.
Oh,
No,
Chad.
it's Kevin.
Or Kevin. I know, because we have some Chads we know that we really like, but I could go with Kevin.
Brad's cool. He was JTT's bigger brother in Home Improvement.
Back to JTT.
Yeah.
I was thinking that you meant in
Not
real
the
life,
actor.
and I was
Not the actor, no.
No, I was thinking you were talking about JTT. No, Justin. Never mind. I was thinking you
We'll
were
edit all this out.
Yes, I was thinking you were
we're
talking
keeping all of this.
about Justin Timberlake.
Oh, this is going to ruin the tour.
Minus a T. You just minus a T.
JTT.
Just the JT.
A JT. Just the Tay-Tays.
Okie dokie.
All right, let's
So
bring
speaking
it
of
back.
astrology.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's come back to Come back to center.
So before we were talking about Mars retrograde in Leo and Cancer. Those dates are December 6th, 2024 through February 23rd, 2025.
Okay.
And again, just a real quick recap, we want to be really careful about how we're speaking to other people, especially our family, how we are smothering, and how we are trying to take too much control of certain situations. And also being in touch and intelligent about our ego, developing our relationship with our ego, because ego is a good thing. We need to hold on to our ego.
Ego keeps us safe.
Yeah, ego protects us.
Yes.
Exactly.
Would you say a good way of phrasing that is just stay in your lane?
Yes, we can stay in our lane.
Stay in your lane, Reaper. Anyways, sorry. I don't know why this is ringing.
Someone's calling you.
Calling you.
That's not what I meant.
What's happening?
I thought I put it on do not. It is on do not disturb.
Is there people outside? Are there people outside? I've never.
There's my phone ringing.
So we had also talked about Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto and Aquarius is just here until 2043, I think.
Yep.
So it's,
We don't really need to talk about that
don't need to do-
retrograding. 2043.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's going to be
That's Palomalo's
approximately
year.
20 years of insanity.
Years. Wow.
20 years of insanity coming in hot.
Who knew a little planet could do so much?
Don't you dare call Pluto Leno.
But I think, well,
He's not a dwarf at all.
I
he's
know.
gonna
Okay,
come
he's
for
just
you.
he's just really
Oh my
far
gosh,
away.
He's gonna light your country music award on fire.
Okay, he's
If anybody out there is a Super Troopers fan, they will get the reference. Oh, look at that. I referenced a movie.
yeah. Except Super Troopers.
Yeah, but it's a movie no one knows.
Oh, fuck that.
What?
Mamma Mia.
Ew, what? Huh?
Super
I said
Troopers.
Super Troopers.
Yeah, Super. Oh, I thought you were talking about the song Super Troopers by ABBA that was in Mamma Mia.
We really got off the rails now, guys.
There are so many pieces of my personality that just collapsed. My
just bring
theater
it out.
nerd, my movie nerd, my astrology nerd.
Your brain waves.
That's been gone for a while.
Yeah, how they can. Yeah. Anyways, that's where my brain went. I thought you were referencing Mamma Mia, but Super Troopers is a solid movie.
Okay. I believe you.
It's what do they call them? Like a not a generational, but like a period movie, right? Like when you're
Like a cult classic?
Yeah, but when you're in a certain point in your life, like Dazed and Confused, right?
Gotcha.
So like Dazed and Confused came out when we were in high school, even though it took place in the 70s. It was still one of those, like, every time you see it, you're kind of like, oh, yeah, I remember my high school time, blah, blah, blah. All right, moving on.
Oh, wait, can we go back to Pluto one time?
Absolutely.
One time.
One thing I
time.
want to talk about because we were talking about burning things.
Yeah.
Interesting little fun fact that I heard.
Tell me.
So the sun will be conjunct with Pluto at the time of the inauguration this month.
That's correct.
The last two times this happened were when James Madison
Correct.
was being inaugurated, at which point the White House literally burned down.
Mm-hmm. The War of 1812, Dolly Madison saved the portrait of George Washington.
Yep.
Great story. Drunk history, if you haven't seen it. Great drunk history they did on it.
Cool fact. I just cringe a little bit inside. Is that foreshadowing? Is that what you're saying?
Okay, time out. Everyone just calm down.
Okay.
I'm not saying that the world's going to burn.
What we need to remember is that the sun conjoins Pluto once a year.
Right.
Okay, so it just so happens that it's also on the day of the inauguration.
Does it just so happen?
Well, it did
just so happened.
Well, I
it
guess
also,
it used to be back in March.
Yes.
The inauguration
The
would be in
inaugurations
March,
would be in
so
March.
it was different.
So
Okay.
in addition to that, yesterday when Mars retrograded back into Cancer, Justin Trudeau stepped down as Prime Minister of Canada, and Trump's election certification
Was validated
in Congress.
By Kamala.
Right. And the commonality that we generally see between Mars retrograde into Cancer is an exchange of power. I initially had assumed that this was going to be a quote unquote death of one mindset going into another, because I did predict that Kamala was going to win the election. And you know what? I'm still not sold. I know, but still in denial. But there's also something that connotes a like a dead king or the death of a king. And I had assumed that that was going to be not Biden actually dying, but the idea of a woman being elevated, and that this was going to be the death of the patriarchy, quote unquote. But it turned out that it was Jimmy Carter. And so when Jimmy Carter died, I was like, well, things may not turn out the way that I assume. And that's kind of like when I started saying, okay, we have to come at this a different direction.
And that's such a beautiful lesson for astrology in general, or life in general, is that sometimes we just have to come at it in a different direction.
Yeah.
Even when things seem crystal clear to us.
Right. Like you can't marry an outcome. You can't get so wrapped up with how this is exactly going to look, because where you end up is not going to be where you started. And when you get to where you're going, you might not want it to look like what you thought it was going to look like when you started. So continuing to cling to outcomes, it's your ego, babe. Let go of the ego, let go of everything, just let it happen. Just let it roll.
Well, yeah.
So something else that is going to be happening early in the year is Venus retrograde through Aries and Pisces. This is a really big deal. If you are not already familiar with Venus star point and you're kind of like already perusing around astrology and you're looking to kind of get more information, I would highly recommend researching Venus star point and Venus cazemis, because this is actually a really incredible way to time certain things that are going on in your life, especially when it comes down to your specific Venus star point in your chart.
Okay.
So the actual cazimi will take place on Mars. It will take place on Mars.
Let's go to Mars.
Let's fucking go.
Elon, where's our rocket ship?
The Venus cazimi will happen on...
Sorry.
It's true, though. It's true. The Venus cazimi will happen on March 25th at 2 degrees Aries. And that is significant because there are a lot of other things that are going on in the neighborhood at that particular time that could potentially affect how this cazimi is handled.
I got to know. What is
what's a cazimi? I'm sorry. So cazimi is whenever a planet is exactly conjunct the sun. So in astrology, we look...
word.
It is fun. It actually translates to in the heart. So if Venus is in the heart of the sun, its power is amplified.
Yes.
As soon as it exits that cazimi...
Yes.
Its power dwindles.
Yes.
So it's almost kind of like a sneak attack where you can't see me because I'm the sun. I'm right behind the sun. You can't see me. And then here I am.
Yes.
And now I'm going to go back into hiding.
That's my new word.
Yeah, cazimi.
I think that's fantastic. In the sun, in the heart.
In the heart.
In the heart.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is.
So in this particular retrograde, it will start in Aries, back into Pisces, and then station direct, go back into Aries. It invites deep reflection of your values, your self-worth, and your relationships. Aries' fiery and impressive and impulsive energy may prompt you to confront personal desires. And that's really important because while we are still dealing with this Mars retrograde stuff, it's almost kind of like a handoff, because Mars is going to have us looking at all of this stuff that's going on out in the world and just being like, I want to change everything. We have to make, and we're going to be fighting that need to smother things. And then all of a sudden, Mars stations direct, Venus stations retrograde, and it's kind of like a handoff where Mars is like, okay, whatever. And now Venus is like, well, what are my values? I know that this is all the stuff that's going on, but how do I define that for me? And that's something that we, each and every one of us, are going to have to take a look at, because we can impulsively decide to go start fighting people, or we can make a choice to hit the brakes, take a breath, and wonder, like, how does this align with my values? How does this come together with my morals and how I want to live my life? That's absolutely something that we can make choices on. And this is a particular time where we're being allowed to do that.
And when is that again?
That starts on my birthday, March 1st.
Okay, March 1st. All right.
March 1st, and it goes through April 12th,
okay,
2025. So really good ideas for this is defining your morals and values. define what is the most important to you as far as priorities, but like inner priorities. How do I want to live my life? And is what I'm doing aligned with how I want to live my life?
Am I honoring
myself?
Right.
Or am I honoring other people? Very important.
Speaking to the mothers out there.
For real. So we talked a little bit about the Aries influence on Venus. In Aries, Venus is actually in detriment. So she's not able to really do what she wants to do. Instead, she decides to get huge. She gets big. She gets bold and brash. And she is just going to absolutely wipe the table of anything that is not pleasing to her because she doesn't really know how to act any other way there. Venus can be kind of a diva. And if you've got heavy Aries energy in your chart, you might find this to be a little bit more of a beneficial time. So if you're looking to cut ties and you have a lot of Aries, this might be a good time to say, you know what? I love your mess, but it's not for me. You go have your mess and be over there having your mess. When you need me, I'll be over here. And Aries will allow us to do that. When she backtracks into Pisces, things are going to start getting a little bit more ethereal. We might not feel so confident in that decision. We might start reviewing our higher ethics and our higher morals and understanding the what whys behind everything. And then as we move through the retrograde and Venus stations direct again, and then moves back into Aries, we will feel a lot more secure in our decisions, no matter what they are. No wrong answers, no wrong answers. It's just a matter of, what did I decide to do? Is this the best for me? Is it aligned with my values and goals? And if all of that checks the boxes, then why would you even second guess yourself?
Right.
Were you going to go more Saturn and Aries, or were we going to move to the Saturn and Neptune conjunction?
I would prefer to talk about Saturn-Neptune.
Okay.
Because I think Saturn-Neptune is a really important aspect that not a lot of people are talking about right now. And
cool.
Saturn in Aries is important because it's going to take us from this lack of definition around religion or philosophy, like our higher heady stuff, the things that we know or we assume without really having to talk about it. You know, it's going to take us from having all of that into a space of, well, now we have to address that. So whatever I didn't define, I'm going to have to get on it real quick. But that transit lasts about 2.5 years altogether. This particular Saturn-Neptune stuff is going to be part of that transit and also part of the Venus retrograde. So putting those things together is more, in my opinion, it's more important. And the reason that I find the Saturn-Neptune conjunction to be much more important is because it is throwing everything off. I cannot stress enough how nothing is as it seems. I'm going to keep saying that until 2026 when this conjunction becomes exact. But anything that you potentially just take for granted, just don't consider it to be real. We're talking like misinformation, disinformation, people deliberately pulling tricks on you. AI is a big part of this too. We're not going to be able to discern what's real and what's fake. We recently saw the effect of this transit in different news things that would come in. For example, the New Orleans thing that just happened.
Yeah.
Everyone was jumping on one specific topic or one specific thing that happened with that before any information came out. That's what Saturn-Neptune looks like. We want to be sure that if we're making good judgments or if we're making good decisions, that we're taking everything into consideration and we're really kind of wading through everything to make sure that these are factual. We don't want to jump into anything because what ends up happening is Saturn builds things. Saturn wants us to come together and create structure, but Neptune will come in and dissolve everything that Saturn tries to do. And that conjunction is coming in at a time where we're just getting into Aries. So it's a slow-moving conjunction that is going to be a backdrop along with Pluto being in Aquarius. but it's also going to agitate a lot because while Pluto is initiating that conflict, Saturn and Neptune are in there going, yeah, get it. You don't know what's going on. So go get mad at someone. Go set it on fire. Yeah.
Do I like that?
Yes,
Sounds
you
like
do.
There's a lot of work.
Well, there's a lot of hurry up and wait. Because if we can't see the path because of all the fog that Neptune has us in, we can't walk it.
Totally.
We might end up in a bog or a swamp.
So where does like intuition come into play on this? Because when you just created that visualization, I was just thinking about trust. Like you trust the process, you trust your path, you trust your intuition, even when you're presented with fog or smoke.
Well, think of it like this. I don't know about you, but have you seen Star Wars?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
I've seen Star Wars.
Okay.
Well, we don't know.
Yeah. It could go either way.
I think that's a valid question.
So this is the type of situation where you really do have to trust the Force, Luke.
Yeah.
You really need to understand and reach out with your feelings because what you see, what you hear, what you taste, smell, feel, it's fucked. The only thing that you are going to be able to trust really is your own discernment. If you can look at something and say, that person's full of shit, that has to be good enough for you. It has to be good enough. That situation doesn't feel right. Has to be good enough. You will find the answers in a tangible way later, once this separates. And it could take years. But the magic of all of this is really A, the fact that it works, and B, in patience. The magic is always in patience.
And I think going back to what we did a whole episode on this, and you said it earlier, radical acceptance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Radical acceptance. And understanding that there's an evolution here, right? It's not going to be so quick. I was thinking about this when you said something earlier. So back when cinema that you like to joke with me about came about, people in the theaters could not discern the difference between a train coming at them on the screen, and there was a lot of hysteria that happened, and people were scared when they saw that, versus their ability now when we see a train coming at us in a movie versus a train coming at us in real life. We've evolved to be able to understand the difference. And the same kind of thing is going to have to occur with artificial intelligence. Where we're going to have to be able to discern the difference like you're talking about. And it's going to take time and it's going to take acceptance that this is a new revolution that we have to go through.
There were two things in particular that made me really kind of sink into what this was going to be all about. First of all, the first color picture, like the first color photograph, was taken under Saturn Neptune. So you can see how the evolution in the art is involved with that. But it was also something that was long and drawn out because the first cameras, you had to sit there.
Sure.
And you had to, you weren't able to move because it took forever for the shutter to flash or whatever.
Right.
So that's something to consider. And then something else.
And it's still revolutionizing today.
Exactly. And I didn't bother to look up the connotation, but something that it makes me think about is the Orson Welles' War of the Worlds. I don't know if you've ever taken the time to listen to that, but it is amazing. And when you consider the time era, like the actual time period that this came out, people were going to lose their minds. It was done exceptionally well. But that is also a Saturn-Neptune type of thing where we are giving you a piece of entertainment, a form of story, a form of fiction, and you guys are just running with it. Like maybe calm down.
Yeah, but isn't that not exactly what happens with the news these days and the media?
But that's being questioned. Everybody is like now like fuck mainstream
But everybody's
news.
Running with it on social media, whether there's fact or fiction or whatever it is, people are running with it.
Yeah.
When it comes to things like social media, do yourself the favor and just get off of social media as much as possible now, because it's just going to make everything so much worse.
I agree.
Yeah.
I had a thought yesterday, actually, kind of surrounding this, where I was like, I wonder if I did a social experiment where I scheduled out all of my content for 1 year, but I didn't actually go on social media. And then I go on 1 year later and see what it looks like.
Right.
I agree.
But to your point, what you were saying about the news, like we can't take the news seriously. Yeah, you're correct. We are going to be forced to reckon with the fact that we have consistently been spoon-fed media, and very few of us have bothered to be literate about it. So if you're not familiar with media literacy, get familiar with media literacy, because the next couple of years, while this conjunction starts to form, it's going to be vital. But yeah, just go on and learn, teach yourself, talk to your kids about what media literacy is. Since my kid was a little pipsqueak, I've been telling him that everything on TV is a story. No matter if it's the news, no matter if it's a sport, sports still tell stories. Mm-hmm. It's a story. Don't believe everything, because the person that's telling that story is telling it to you for a reason. And it's usually because they want you to buy something. Whatever it is that they want you to buy, it could be bullshit or it could be a product.
Sure.
You have to be aware of what you're consuming. You have to be aware of what you're purchasing. So
such good advice. Such good advice. I think that's a learned behavior. Mm-hmm. You know, like I grew up, my mom would always listen to the nightly news.
Yeah.
And the music that the nightly news has, I still, it's like the Jeopardy music, right? Like we associate these things to these shows, if you will. And, I can remember thinking everything that was on the nightly news was the best news out there.
Yeah.
The best news, right? Mm-hmm. But naturally now I have progressed into not listening to the news.
So the message that I've been, I don't want to say driving at, but kind of keying into what you both talk about a lot with radical acceptance, that is vital, essential, mainstream stuff. Mm-hmm. Like put it directly into your veins. That if you are not capable of radically accepting things around you for what they are at face value, you're going to have a problem for the next couple of years. And I do mean a couple of years, because this conjunction is with us until 2026.
Okay.
And as it separates, we're still going to be dealing with it. And it's very slow moving. So you're going to want to check in with yourself and figure out, A, is what I'm doing aligned? B, is what I'm doing right? And C, is it helping me grow? Mm. Because if you are sitting stagnant during this, mm-hmm. you're kind of selling yourself a story that is not a real thing. You're giving yourself a fairy tale, which is completely departed from reality. And if you actually want to use this energy to your advantage, dream big and go for it, because Saturn will give us the structure to enable us to reach our potential. Neptune is going to come in and kind of make it hazy. And if you're afraid of the dark, if you're afraid of the swamp, you're going to struggle. But if you're able to radically accept that I'm not going to have all the answers, there's no way for me to know everything all up front, just have to put it on faith and trust in myself, you're going to do great. That's the best way to handle this, I think. And also, everyone just shut up. You don't want too many cooks in that kitchen.
I love that saying.
Yeah.
That's true too. And I think that's an easy one to pick up on. Like if you're having an experience that is aligned with some of these things that you're saying, and you're getting that feeling like there's too many people having input, mm-hmm.
Well, and I think if we wrap this back into what it is that we do here with our podcast, is very much about sharing our lived experience mm-hmm. and the process of transformation and personal growth that we're both going through mm-hmm. as all of this is occurring, and wrapping those subjects back in a way that hopefully has meaning and maybe some guidance for our listeners.
For sure.
Right? And so just remember that just because something is our lived experience doesn't mean it has to be your lived experience.
Right.
And some of these things are going to hit harder for you than others based on where these are in your own personal natal chart.
Yes.
And it's a lot. It's a lot to take in and to listen to, but it doesn't have to be hard.
Right. And the thing is that people hear hard. They hear hardship. They hear challenging period. They hear that this is going to be a little bit more difficult. And all of a sudden it's the end of the world and we're going to just set our hair on fire and go run around screaming. We don't have to do that. We can make the choice to be calm, logically think through things, and then figure out what our best method of attack is.
Totally.
This is an excellent time for strategy. It's an excellent time for getting in touch with who you are, who you want to be, and then giving yourself an outline of how you want to get there. Don't be married to the roadmap. Give yourself an impression of what is going to happen and how you want it to happen, but remain open to all the possibilities, because you might end up looking at an opportunity that you never thought you had.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And I feel like that's such a beautiful metaphor for just how you should live your life and how you should look at the journey of life and the road, right? Like the road, there's so many, I think about like different things like the road less traveled. But you have speed bumps, you have potholes, especially if you're in Pittsburgh. There's just so many visualizations that you can give yourself when you find something specific that's happening in your life that you can apply to what we're talking about and the energy that is taking place, and know that you are on a path somewhere. What do you always say? It's not about
the destination.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing more is if you're talking about the visualization of it, something that now we know that water resonates with me big time, even though I'm an air sign. And the idea of the peaks and valleys and swells of an ocean. And I heard years ago that it's not about, trying to fight through the waves. It's about learning how to surf them. Every single year is going to be filled with transits that can potentially cause hardship in your life. That is just a part of the experience. It's part of the journey and the life that you're living. There's no way to escape that things aren't going to be at the top of the mountain or perfect all of the time.
Right.
And again, that's all relative. So what might be quote unquote perfect for me is not going to be perfect for Rachel or for Jenny. It's going to be different for each of us. And I just hope that as you're listening and go back and listen to this episode so many times, because there's so many good nuggets in this one and the first one, that you just adopt those things for your own life, for your own natal chart, if you're into that. And don't be afraid. Don't be fucking afraid. This is your life. Live it.
Yeah. So let's just highlight, Jenny, how people can find you, what services you do offer. If someone is interested in having their personal birth chart read, what does that look like, feel like? Give it to us.
So I offer a number of different services, including astrology, tarot, and distance Reiki. If you're interested in potentially getting a hold of me for any of those services, you can get a hold of me on Blue Sky, TikTok, and Instagram.
Okay.
As Jenny Dee Astrology, all one word. And I also do discounted readings at the Crow's Nest every Friday. So if you are someone who is interested in dipping your toe.
And you're local to Pittsburgh.
I am local to Pittsburgh.
Yep.
So, and the Crow's Nest is located in Dormont. So if you are interested and you aren't sure or you don't have a ton of money to spend, hit me up in person every Friday at the Crow's Nest, and you will be treated to the time of your life, because it's an hour long with me, of course.
Yeah.
And that is
I love that.
It's a discounted reading for in-person only. My rates are available online, and I do offer virtual consultations as well.
Fantastic.
And then in addition to that, I do tutoring. So if you are interested in astrology and you've been studying and you need someone to ask questions to, I am always available. This is my favorite thing in the world to talk about. I can't get enough of it. Hit me up.
I love that.
Yeah.
This has been so magical and wonderful, and I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I highly, highly recommend you check her out. If you are going to find her on socials, Jenny Dee is D-E-E, so JENNYDEE astrology.
That's me.
That's her.
Yeah, I second that. And I think that this is the beautiful start to an incredible platform for you personally, but also us learning more and having a really great community-based person that we can have on the podcast, that we can reference, that we can support and send amazing energy to. I think that this work you're doing is a game changer. You know, I think that it provides insight. I think it is so helpful. And I'm really glad that our paths have crossed and the universe was like, let's do this. Get these bitches together at some point.
And something to consider too is that on the last Friday of every month, I actually host Pittsburgh Astrology Group at the Crow's Nest. So if you want to come and just talk astrology for a couple of hours, it's from 7 to 9 p.m. the last Friday of every month. I would be delighted to see both of you there.
Oh,
I think we can make that happen.
yes. That would be so great.
We'll talk transits, we'll talk charts, we'll talk whatever you want to talk about.
Butt sex.
Yep, or that.
Reapers.
There's a planet for that. It's Uranus.
Yeah.
Ba-ching, ting.
All right, guys, we are going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Jenny, for being here. This has been absolutely fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't think we've ever talked longer.
I mean, not while we were recording.
Not while we were recording.
Maybe we
This
had
has
a couple
been-
cocktails.
Well, that's true. Oh, that just gave me. What if we had cocktails and talked planets?
Celestial cocktails.
Celest-
New episode
All right,
coming to you guys
yes.
in 2025.
I
right.
can find a recipe.
Okay.
There we go. You guys,
right.
this is happening. All right, we love you so much.
Happy 2025, bitches.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.